It started out as just an ordinary day in San Diego back in March 1993. Melina Sellers and her 6 children were all busy doing their normal Saturday morning chores. Just an ordinary day that took a horrific twist.
We called ourselves the Brady Bunch. I had 3 boys and 3 girls. I was a single parent at the time. My husband and I had separated. And usually every Saturday, I always had the kids clean. That was our cleaning day. Because as a young girl, I had to clean the house when we woke up on Saturday. And that's what my kids did. I remember Jonathan was doing his room at the time when Charlie came to the door. Heard the doorbell ring. And I go to the door and open the door, and there was Charlie and everything, and with his bike. And he was asked if John could come out. So I go back to the room to see where John was in this cleaning process. And he says, "Mom, is the room clean enough?" And I told him, "No, John, this room is not clean." So I go back out and I told Charlie he's still cleaning. It'll be a little bit. And so then John comes running out of the room. "Mom, is it clean enough? Is it clean enough? Come check, come check." And I go back to the room and it still wasn't clean enough. But then I told him, "John, you could go ahead. You can leave. It's clean enough." But it really wasn't. I really wasn't happy with it, but I told him it was clean enough. And I walked him outside. And then looking at Charlie's bike, because Charlie had just gotten a new bike for his birthday, which is in November 1st. And I looked at Charlie's bike, and my sister had just purchased the bike for my Jonathan, because his birthday was 22 days away. He was going to turn 10. And I knew I couldn't afford to buy him and his twin sister a bike. And my sister had went and she had found this bike, and she gave it to him as his birthday gift.
Yeah. So it was a happy moment for you in that morning.
It was. It was.
Tell me about Jonathan.
Jonathan was very happy, very loving, you know. What I remember the most is his beautiful, beautiful eyes and his wet kisses. You know, he would kiss you. I gave him wet kisses and stuff. That was Jonathan. Just a very happy boy. He loved playing basketball. That was his favorite. You know, he was going to grow up and be a professional basketball player. He was also going to be an architect, you know.
Oh, very good.
Because he likes to build things and make things, and he was just very helpful. Jonathan was one that wanted to make everybody happy. You know, he tried to see how it could be to where everybody was getting what they wanted, you know.
A special kid.
Yeah, he really was.
And how about Charlie?
Charlie's house was the house that had the swimming pool. And so, of course, all the kids wanted to go to Charlie's house so they can get the swimming pool, because we didn't have a swimming pool.
Pretty special, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and he had all the, by him being an only child that was at home, his brother and sister, they were grown and married already. So he had all the latest, you know, games and Nintendos and stuff, so the kids like to go over there and hang out with him and stuff, you know, which is why when the boys when Jonathan didn't come home in time for dinner, you know, I told my daughter, you know, call Maria's house and stuff, which is Charlie's mother, and tell John it's time to come home. And I just knew he'd be over there playing or doing something, and the phone went to the voicemail and stuff, so he left a message. And then it wasn't until Maria came to the house.
His mother, Charlie's
mother came to the house. And that's when I realized that there was something wrong, because I knew that, you know, John was at their house. Of course, John is with Charlie. Yeah. And Maria came over to the house to get Charlie. So I knew something was wrong, because they wouldn't be out, you know. And John's always home for dinner. He knows dinner's at 5 o'clock, and he comes running home to make sure he's there in time.
And this is every mother's fear.
Yeah.
The pit of your stomach, you fear. Whatever, even if they walk in 5 seconds later, all mothers feel the same, that horrible feeling for a moment. So take us back to the day that it happened. The boys were on their way to a destination on their bike?
When Charlie came over to the house to get Jonathan, I thought they were just going to go out for a bike ride. I didn't know until later that after everything had happened, my son Alton, my oldest son, he told me that the plan was Charlie was going to go with Alton and Jonathan and all the boys. They were all going to go together on this adventure, and that's what they called it, an adventure. And but Alton had asked Charlie to wait until he got back home because he plays the violin and he had a concert that morning. And so he wasn't there when Charlie came. And that's when Charlie left with Jonathan. But evidently they had went to Rally's to get themselves a hamburger and to get that bigger, better burger meal. And so I know he had a wonderful meal because my son Jonathan loved to eat. And but they also stopped by a flower shop. And the florist told the police that the little black boy came inside while the little white boy stayed outside with the bikes and asked, you know, how much it cost for a rose because they wanted to get a rose for their mother. And she told them, and then they left and they continued their bike ride. Again, later I found out that they actually rode on the bike path, which is still there now. And then
this was near your house?
No, actually it's not near the house. It's really a good distance away. You know, like I said, I had no idea. There was no way I would have ever, you know, approved of them riding there, you know, being so far from home.
Yeah.
I assumed they was going to be in the neighborhood, you know, stay in the neighborhood. Charlie lived just a couple streets away and stuff, so I assumed they're going to be up there. Then there's a park that's not too far away where the boys go and play basketball, also in the same, you know, in the neighborhood. And that's what I assumed they would be doing. Again, had no idea that they would be riding way up to where Rally's was at, and then on the bike path. And so it was after everything happened that I found out.
And how did you find out?
When Jonathan didn't come back home that evening, and Maria showed up at the door looking for Charlie, I knew something was wrong, and so I asked Maria if I could ride with her. So we went to a couple of their friends' house together, and then, you know, we decided we're going back home and we're going to call the police because we know our kids. And when I called the police and when they finally showed up, my sisters had then showed up at the house too because they had no idea. And then I told them, you know, John's missing. By the time when the police finally got there, me and my son Alton and my nephew Arthur, we got in the car because my son Alton was going to take us to some places that they know that the boys frequent. And we were going different places, but then it started to rain. And when it started to rain, that's when I just knew that my son was dead. And so I called the family meeting and I asked the kids, you know Jonathan loves you, right? And they said, yep, we do. I said, do you think Jonathan knows that you love him? And they all said, yeah. And I said, so, you know, no matter what happens, we know that Jonathan knows that he is loved, and we know that he knows that we love him, and we know that he loved us. And like I said, my sisters were there, but I just felt it was so important to prepare the kids, you know. And then after that meeting and stuff, we just hugged and kissed, and then I went back to my room. The next day, the police came to the house, and I don't remember exactly what was said. They talked to my family and they said something. They said something to me, and I think they said they may have found something. I don't remember exactly because I passed out. I, you know, it was just too much to take. But I know that the way my family, when I remember the way my family found out was we did an interview with the news and to tell them that Jonathan was missing, and we were hoping that they would put it on the news. That way people would say, you know, yes, we saw these boys here and there or wherever. And so my family was waiting for the news to come on, and that's when it came on TV, saying that they found the boy's body. And my family was in they were in the family room, and I was back in my bedroom, in bed, and all I heard was this screaming, you know. They were just screaming, and so I just started screaming because I just, you know, I knew it was like confirmation, and it's just so hard. And then John's father came into the bedroom and he said, you know, our baby's dead, our baby's dead. And oh, it was just so hard. It was so hard. And that was, you know, when the police came to the house to tell us, I remember, you know, my sister told me that she was really upset because of how the kids found out and how we all found out and stuff. But then I knew that I still kept thinking in my mind that he must have drowned because Jonathan couldn't swim. But Jonathan was one of those smart little boys. He knew he couldn't swim, so he never went near the water, you know. But maybe something happened. Maybe my thought was Jonathan must have drowned, and maybe Charlie drowned trying to save Jonathan, you know. And then the police, when they told me that they think they were murdered, and I said, well, you know, because my mind could not comprehend that, you know. I said, what would make you say that? And he said, I don't think they could have done that to themselves. And I'm still thinking, no, you must be mistaken. They must have. I'm still thinking in my mind they drowned. And I guess part of me really didn't want to know. I didn't really want to know all the details. And I know I didn't want to know the details. Because it was too hard just dealing with the fact that he was dead, let alone, and then telling me somebody actually killed him on purpose, you know, purposely killed him. And then Maria, she would come to me and she said, you know, she's the one that would let me know what was going on. It was just easier, I guess, for me to hear it from her. And she would say, Melina, you have to know this. You have to know this, and this is what happened. And so she would tell me some things and stuff, you know. And she said, you know, the boys were molested, and they, you know, and she said that there was burn marks. It looks like burn marks and all this stuff, and it was just too much. It was just so much to handle, to even think about. I didn't want to think about it. Right. You know, I just didn't want to.
It must have seemed like it went on forever while this time was, although maybe you just didn't have any sense of time during that time.
It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare that I just wanted to wake up from, you know, that I could not wake up from. You know, I told my mom, maybe Jonathan really wasn't here. Maybe none of this ever happened. It's just a dream. It's just a dream, you know, because Mom came from Ohio to be with me, and she told me, no, baby, it happened. It's real. Yeah. It's real. Yeah. You know.
Now, children are really naive, and yet they're very resilient. And you had other children to take care of. And so throughout all of this, you remained a mom, and your kids were, I guess, on vacation at this point.
Yeah.
And so you had to keep track of them all day and try to hold things together. How was that for you?
Well, they were on their school break. And actually, it was really difficult because I was so depressed. I was so depressed that I had to force myself to get up, you know, to go and be with them and to let them know that I'm there for them. And they were trying to protect me, so they didn't want to talk about Jonathan, you know, being dead. They didn't want to talk about it, but yet they had questions, and I knew they did. And so I told them if they want to talk about it, it's okay. You know, I'm okay. We could talk about it and stuff. But it was difficult. Jonathan died 22 days before he turned 10 years old, his 10th birthday. He has a twin sister. I had to have a birthday party. They always had a birthday party. I could not have a birthday party for her, you know. And so my girlfriend, fortunately, she came over, and Jennifer wanted to go to the beach. She wanted a beach party, and I just didn't have the energy to go to the beach. So my girlfriend came over, and she painted a beach scene on the sliding glass doors. She got a surfboard from somewhere. Oh, that's great. And had all, you know, Jennifer friends come with their bathing suits and stuff on it. She got a little tub, you know, little pool, a little pool, yeah, a little portable pool, and set water in there. And so she was able to let Jennifer have her beach party.
Oh, that's great.
But it was at the house and stuff. Wow. So
that's what friends are for.
That's what friends are for. Yeah, I was very fortunate.
So the grieving process can be complicated. And I know that there were probably lots of levels that you went through, but you are, to me, a model of how to handle grief. And not all other people handle it this well. It's been how many years now?
Almost 21 years.
21 years.
March 27th will make 21 years.
I'm just wondering if you can help us understand the stages that you went through over the years and how you handled it.
I would say the number one thing was my faith in God, knowing that even though I didn't understand this, I knew that He understood and that one day I will understand. And that's one thing that got me through. And then my children, looking at them and knowing they needed me. I felt that it would have been selfish of me to just think about me, you know, because they lost a brother. You know, Jennifer lost her twin. You know, my youngest daughter, baby Tammy, she was only 3 years old. She lost her bigger brother. She'll never get to know. You know, Michael lost his brother. Alton lost his best friend and his brother. You know, and my Natasha, you know, she was 11 years old. She's just hitting those preteens, and it was just so hard for her, so devastating for her. And so by just focusing on each one of my children, each one of my living children, that gave me the strength to do what I had to do. But honestly, my plan was, Lord Jesus, just help me to get to my kids being 18. My baby girl turned 18, then I could die. I just wanted to die. I wanted to die, but I couldn't because my kids needed me, and I wouldn't do that to them. You know, I'm their mother, and they needed a mother. And but that's what got me through. I was like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to see to it that they have a happy life. But my baby girl turned 18, then I could die.
But she turned 18 and you didn't die.
No, I didn't. Well, you know what happened? My baby turned 18, and my now husband asked me to marry him at 18 when she turned 18.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
And we got married when she turned 19.
Oh,
so yeah, my life just totally changed.
That's good.
But also what happened, what changed things a lot for me, not just focusing on my babies, but when Chelsea King was murdered, that was when she was killed, and they were looking for her body. It was close to the 17th anniversary of Jonathan's murder, and it hurt me so bad. I just cried. It hurt me so bad, but it was different now. I wanted to do something. And in wanting to do something, I decided I'm gonna go out and help look for her body. And I prayed the whole time, but I actually went out and helped look for Chelsea's body. And I knew I really wanted to do something, and that's when I decided I really want to get involved with the foundation. Before, I wasn't as involved. My ex-husband was more, you know.
And what foundation are you talking about?
I'm sorry. Wanted to get involved with the Jonathan Sellers and Charlie Keever Foundation.
Okay, tell us about that.
Okay, the Jonathan Sellers Charlie Keever Foundation, it's a nonprofit that my ex-husband and I started, but he was more doing it, everything. I told him, whatever you need me to do, just let me know, but I was more hands-off because I wasn't ready, you know. I just couldn't handle it yet.
And that was his way of handling it.
And that was his way of handling it, yes. And so when Chelsea went missing, and I decided I wanted to do something, and I actually went out to help look for her body, and that's the same day that they actually found her body. Driving back, I was crying and praying, and that's when I called and I asked, you know, my ex-husband, I asked him, you know, how is the foundation? How's things going? I really want to do something. And I got involved, and he had been sick and stuff, having problems and everything, health problems. And that's when I really got involved and said, you know, I'd like to really step up. He goes, you know what, if you could handle it, that'd be wonderful. And that's when I started, you know, our mission was to, which he first started, was to promote the safety and well-being of children, and to then support family that's lost a loved one through murder. And we want to educate children, educate the community on how to stay safe in this environment, in this world that we're in, because we need that. And that's been my focus, and now I feel like that's how I've dealt with my grieving, because I found my purpose. once I was able to really get involved and stepped up and learn what the foundation really is about, I really wanted to do something, and it's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
And then you learned that you were a much stronger person than you thought you were.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I guess I am.
So your goal is to educate and help other families in this situation. And so what have you done in order to do that? What kinds of education do you do?
Well, we have the JSIC, which is JSCK safety program. And the child safety program, we actually go into elementary schools or churches or any place where children congregate, and we teach kids. We do a little skit. It's a performance using a cat and a bird, teaching kids to be safe, you know, giving them the tools that they need to stay safe. And the primary lesson is to keep your distance, stay alert, and fly away or leave. And that's what we're teaching kids. But we're doing it in a way that's not scary, you know, but they definitely get the message.
So this can be for what age group?
Elementary age kids.
Like second grade?
From second grade up to sixth grade, really. And they understand the message. We also, we do a question period afterwards where we ask them questions and everything, and then we let them ask us questions just to make sure they got it.
Very good.
And they got it.
Very
it's
good.
great. It's wonderful.
And that's not all you've done for Jonathan. You have other things that you do.
Yes, we also host an annual candlelight vigil, and it's to remember those loved ones that have been lost through murder.
So any parent can go that
any parent, any person, if your friend was murdered, if your co-worker was murdered, if you just know someone, just supporting, it's just to support families that's lost a loved one. So it's a community event to where everyone is invited, and we can, we have a memorial table where we share pictures of our loved ones, and it's a time that for those of us that's lost someone, we can actually remember them with other people that's in the same situation. And for those that have not lost someone, you could support someone that has lost a loved one through murder. So it's a chance to talk about them and to remember them, and it's okay. And then we also use that opportunity to network, to talk to each other. You may be, maybe the murder of your loved one haven't been found yet, and mine may have been found, but we haven't started the trial, and someone else's may have gone through the trial, and so we're at different stages so we can learn how to best go through these different stages when it comes to a loved one being murdered.
Tell us about the bike-a-thon.
Okay, we have an annual bike ride that's a fundraiser for the foundation, for the Jonathan Sellers and Charlie Keever Foundation, and it's called the Ride for Safety San Diego. And with the bike ride, we're actually riding on the bike path that the boys rode on their last ride. It also goes past the Jonathan Sellers, Charlie Keever Outdoor Educational Activity Center, which was also made and named in memory of the boys. So that people that come to the bike ride have the opportunity to get off their bikes and actually appreciate this beautiful outdoor education center. There's telescopes and things there for people can see the Coronado Bridge, look at the bay, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful area with the Nautilus on the ground, and there's these, they call them tears of the ocean that glow in the dark. It looks like stars on the ground. It's just absolutely beautiful. And it's just, again, a chance that will, the bike ride encourages families to come together, because it's not a race, it's just a leisurely ride. Bring families together, bring your grandkids, your children, and just go on this nice, lovely, safe bike ride. And it's a way for us to raise money for that we can continue our safety program, because there is no charge to the schools when we do the safety program, and the schools can just call us, let us know what day they'd like for us to come, and the actors go and they do this wonderful performance at no charge.
Very nice.
And that's how we're able to do it at no charge, is because we raise funds in other ways. I don't want money to be a reason why kids don't get this very, very important message of staying
But you
safe.
do take donations.
Yes.
And so they would send donations to the foundation.
Yes.
And so we'll have the website up on the screen. I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing this story with us today, Melina. And I know the park is a beautiful place, and there's a quote from Rachel Carson right at the park that is just so perfect. There is something infinitely healing in the repeated refrains of nature, the assurance that dawn comes after night and spring after the winter. And it's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming.
You.
In March 2001, a DNA database identified Scott Erskine as a suspect based on the DNA found at the scene of the 1993 murders. Erskine was already in prison for a rape committed 6 months after the boys' murders. In 2004, he was sentenced to death row at San Quentin State Prison, where he still resides. PACE TV, Public Access Cablevision by Elders, is the longest-running public access television organization in the United States. Founded in 1978, we've been around for over 30 years. We are a nonprofit corporation whose membership consists of senior volunteers aged 50 and over. Our members have produced and presented over 900 award-winning shows of topical interest to the San Diego community. These shows air each week on San Diego's cable networks, Time Warner and Cox. You can find our shows on Cox Cable Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. In San Diego, it's Channel 23. In North County, it's Channel 18. For Time Warner San Diego customers, we're on Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Channel 19. And for Time Warner Del Mar, it's Channel 24 on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. and Fridays at 10:30 a.m.
If you'd like to find out more
about joining our group here at PACE TV, please go to our website,
www.pace-tv.com.
It is never too late to have fun
learning a new skill.
Thanks for tuning in.